What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So I told you I would let you know when Switch systems came back in stock, and they have for even less than the $300 price. That's right, because a certain place reopened for business. That's Nintendo. We're going to go over that today because it's certainly not going to be a good couple of weeks going forward here for resellers as those prices for the Switch start to come down online. Also, we had one of the strangest delays that I've ever seen happen yesterday, kind of out of nowhere, and it's in response to overall fan reaction to a leaked trailer. Again, very strange situation. Also, we have some reports around what that Xbox lock cart could look like, and it might surprise you a bit compared to some of the mock-ups we've seen going around. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit the right subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're gonna start today with the 3DS. Now, I've talked before about how I thought the 3DS was being discontinued quietly, specifically when Walmart had their own deal that was going on where you could get a 2DS XL for $100 with Mario Kart 7, right? That was a very, very good deal, and I was looking at that thinking like, that's a little too good to be true, almost like Walmart may have made a deal because it was only at Walmart, everywhere else just didn't have them at all. And that sounded like, okay, Walmart made a deal with Nintendo to sell off some of the remaining stock that may be left around with an advertised deal that even Nintendo took part in. And now it looks like Nintendo has dropped their own support for HackerOne, which is a service where Nintendo will pay out bounties to hackers who can find vulnerabilities in their security for the system, specifically the 3DS. This was an email that was sent out. Oatmeal Dome went ahead and shared it on Twitter. You can see it does mention here saying we dropped 3DS vulnerabilities from this program in accordance with the current security situation for the Nintendo 3DS. They go on to say that up to July 15th, they will still fill some of those orders, but for the most part, they are just dropping the 3DS. Current situation on security, by the way, tells me that Nintendo recognizes that the security isn't even worth protecting or really going into anymore because it has been hacked up pretty well at this point. MVG even did a very good video on the 2DS XL straight up, and it showed a ton of really cool stuff you can do, and it didn't seem that difficult, to be honest, to jailbreak it or hack it or whatever you want to call it. So yes, it does look like to me Nintendo has really discontinued the 3DS, again, quietly, even pulling it from HackerOne now. Also, we have some new Game Pass games that were announced for July, and one of them is a great game that is going to Game Pass on release day for the Xbox. Yeah, check this out. So we'll start here from the top. We did have a full post that was on Xbox's news site going over all of these games. And they also put out a graphic showing off all of the different box arts there. Now we'll start with Out of the Park Baseball 21. That was actually added yesterday on July 1st. That is only on PC. Soul Calibur 6 on the Xbox console specifically hit July 1st yesterday as well. But then we have Crosscode, which comes out July 9th. But it's also going to Game Pass July 9th. I like these pickups, by the way. One that's kind of like a really cool RPG setup that they have, kind of an action retro RPG. But the fact that it is going to the Xbox, Switch, and then the PS4 on the same day, July 9th, but Game Pass members can just download it, that's good news. And that tells me that the indie developers behind that got a pretty good payout as well from Microsoft. And then Fallout 76, for anyone who still cares, is going there July 9th as well. I mean, look, that will at least help some of the population around Fallout 76. I'm not 100% sure how many people still really play that game, but if it's on Game Pass, you'll probably have people that are just like, all right, fine, I'll finally try it out. Hey, the Crosscode, though. Make sure you check that out. Oh, and for anyone asking for a direct, we had one announced yesterday. That's right. Devolver Digital is having their direct. They put this tweet out here just letting everyone know Devolver Direct streaks toward the future on Saturday, July 11th at 12 p.m. Pacific, and they will be doing seemingly another direct themed setup. So they've done this before, of course, and it gets crazy and wild and out there. It's Devolver. They're going to do some weird stuff. I am curious about some of the games that they will announce. Honestly, it's anyone's guess with Devolver what they'll do. Really, it is. So hopefully we see some really cool indie games from them. And of course, they play around once again with the direct format. But hey, there you go for everyone asking. You got a direct to look forward to in just over a week. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with the Nintendo Store Online reopening. Now, it has been closed for a while, specifically the store around refurbishment. So any of the systems that they would sell online that were refurbished, you just couldn't order. They just had the button grayed out, and they had a statement put out that due to the COVID-19 virus that was going around, they were shutting down for preventative measures, of course. They did a lot of remote work during that time, and it seems at this point they are reopened to take orders. Now, they did mention that there is a bit of a delay. I put one thing in the cart just to see. I think it said 8 to 10 days through processing, so most likely they are catching up on orders. But the good news here is you can buy your Switch now from Nintendo straight up. All right, so you don't have to go through a third party. You don't have to go through a reseller that might still have it for like $450 or something, because they do keep selling out online, by the way. So I assume that bots are still being used to kind of snipe those systems up, and then they'll attempt to resell them. It will be more difficult now, though, as you can see here. Just as an example, Nintendo selling these Switch systems at a pretty good price, $260 for the neon red Joy-Con and then $260 for the gray. And then they also have the dock refurbished at $40. And I have made purchases through this store a couple of times. I even did a video on a Nintendo Classic and a 2DS XL that I got, and they were in phenomenal shape. The one was actually the Pokeball 2DS XL, and then of course the NES Classic came in fully boxed and everything. It wasn't the original box, but it had what looked almost like a brand new controller, and for the most part, Nintendo's refurbished stuff is high quality. It is very good, and it gets a warranty from Nintendo. It is coming from them, so that would make sense. Now, the other interesting part about this is if you start looking around the site a bit, you'll find some other things. For example, we just talked about how the 2DS XL, or just the 3DS overall, appears to be getting quietly discontinued. Nintendo still has all of the options in stock, minus the original 3DS, but they have the new 3DS XL, that's at $120. They have the 2DS XL at $100, and then they have the Wedge, just the regular 2DS, for $50. That's pretty good, right? I mean, if you just want it for either collector's value, if you're like, well, I want to get one now from Nintendo, you can, but also for a younger, a kid that you want to get in the gaming, and you're like, hey, here's a $50 system that I don't necessarily care as much if you break, as opposed to a $300 or $260 Switch. And of course, the games might be a little easier to play on there. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And before they all sell out through Nintendo's refurbishment site, or they just delist them, might be worth going and grab one. And one other little thing, I've noticed that Super Nintendo Classics are being sold, we'll say above MSRP at some places. GameStop, for example, I think is selling it for $120 to $130. Go ahead and punch in Super Nintendo Classic on the Nintendo refurbished site, and it comes up for about $70. So, hey, there you go. You can get a little bit of everything from there. The quality is good. I think shipping might be $4 or $5 depending on where you are in the US to pick that up. For me, it was I think $4.50 or something for a system, but not bad. Good spot, by the way, to get a Switch if you've been looking for one. Hold out on those resellers if you want a new one, because the fact that Nintendo's refurbished site is coming back in stock tells me that they really are getting production back under control, and it's going to start resuming more or less as usual, unless there is another spike that causes shutdowns and issues in the manufacturing process. Of course, everyone's crossing their fingers that won't happen, but we will see going into the fall. For now, though, check out their refurbished site and see if there's anything you wanted to pick up. Next up, let's talk about a very strange delay. This is around Crysis Remastered. There was supposed to be a trailer that was going to go up yesterday. It leaked a bit early, actually the day before, and it showed a July 23rd release date, which did appear to be the original plans for this game. There was one problem, though. It was the Xbox trailer that seemingly leaked out. We also had some Switch screenshots that got out there as well, but the thing that really seemed to put people off was the Xbox trailer. It showed what appeared to be actual gameplay being shown, and the problem was didn't look that good. It actually, in some instances, looked worse than the original Crysis, which is weird because we heard, of course, from Saber that it was going to have better textures and they're going to remaster and it's going to look better or more current, I guess, upgrade the latest version of a CryEngine and all that. So that sounded good. But then we start to see it and it just seemed off. It seemed like, from what I was seeing, oversaturated and even a little blurrier. I mean, not even talking about just the Switch version, but like the Xbox version. Now, of course, that is through a YouTube, so there's compression and all of this, and it's hard to say the quality that trailer was leaked and then uploaded at, even though it says it was like 1080p. Maybe they were gonna have like a full 4K trailer. Hard to say on that end, but it does seem like out of nowhere, they decided to pull the trailer, and they went ahead and said it was delayed, and this is the statement they put out on Twitter. The features you're looking forward to are already set, but we want to take the time on polishing the game. You might be aware of the leak yesterday, and we want you to know we've seen all the reactions, the good and the bad, and we're listening. We're still working on a number of things in-game, as well as the storefront. Please keep the love coming, and rest assured, you'll have the game you love shortly. The extra time until release will allow us to get Crysis Remastered up to the PC and console breaking standard you've come to expect from Crysis games. We hope you understand what we're up to and that you stay with us while we take the time to make a few more improvements. Stay tuned and we'll have the game in your hands as soon as we possibly can. Thank you, Team Crysis. All right, so yes, Crysis generally will just beat up your computer, right? That was the big thing when it came out. And it was even asked every system that comes out, can it play Crysis? That was asked for the Switch. And I talked about that in a video a while ago, and I said, yes, it can. And here it is showing up on the Switch at some point. We have to see how long this is gonna be delayed. We've heard things like several weeks or a couple weeks. Hard to say. It is odd though, because it was supposed to come out July 23rd. So in 3 weeks, it was going to be out, and they pull it at the last minute and say, we got some more work to do. They definitely saw the fan reactions, the reactions of people online who were like, what is this? What is going on here? Not even necessarily about the Switch version. I think a lot of people came to terms with like, okay, it's clearly not going to look like the Xbox One X version, right? Most people understand that. But that was the trailer that seemed to really throw everyone off. And it is interesting to see Saber and Team Crysis and all that actually pull it because of those reactions. I'm sure they really want this to be good, and Saber has a good track record, especially recently, when they do things like move Witcher to the Switch, right? Those kind of ports, yes, mean a lot to them for the reputation and all that, and it's Crysis, right? We want it to be this crazy looking game, even though it is an older game, but being remastered. So I am willing to wait. It is a shame because I was like, oh, July 23rd, it's gonna be awesome to see Crysis make a comeback there, and everyone's getting really excited. I'm thinking this is going to fall into mid to late August if I had to take a guess. I am curious how much they're gonna be able to change in that time. It doesn't seem like it's that long, right? Like if they said, okay, it's not coming out till October, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that should be enough time. A couple of weeks? Are they gonna move some sliders around and change some of the color temperatures and settings? I don't know. We'll see though, and they should have another trailer for us, I guess, in a few weeks to show us some of the changes. Next up, let's talk about Summer Game Fest and an event that sounds kind of neat. It'd be interesting to see this going forward at places like E3, where we said, hey, it'd be neat if they had like more interactive parts of the show, right? It's cool for us to see these big things happening in terms of games, but then we go down to the floor level and we see everyone playing the different games that we just saw a trailer for or a presentation, and I do at times think, oh, they should have dropped the demo on the eShop or the Xbox Store or the PlayStation Network, something just to let us play it too. I get that they probably have some very early code in those games. They don't want it to be data mined or any of that, but it does look like that they're going to take a shot at this for Summer Games Fest. This was posted by Microsoft. Jeff Keighley also talked about it, but from July 21st to the 27th, they're going to be posting 60 demos or more even for different games, some of which won't even be close to being out. Now, on the Xbox site, they said these are not normal game demos. Typically, the demos you see in our demo channel are created after the game is completed or nearly completed and represent the final version. Many of these demos are early, and some are for games that won't be out for quite some time. And they go on to say they've never done this so early, and just keep all of this in mind that you might be playing some pre-alpha gameplay, right? But there are some interesting ones on here. They go through a few, and they will reveal more. Like they have Chris Tales. I saw Destroy All Humans. That's pretty cool to see that, because I wanted to play that and check it out. Haven, and they also have Hellpoint and Skatebird. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be able to play Skatebird at the end of this month. You know I'm going to check that out, absolutely. I like this idea. I would like to see this become a normal thing around these big events, not even just like, okay, E3 will happen again next year. We'll assume that for now, right? That would be something that would be really cool to see happen by multiple publishers and developers, even if it has to be organized by Microsoft and then Nintendo and Sony. That'd be a great way to have us be introduced to some of these games early on, but then also give our feedback for it, right? That's one of the things we see at these events. People will sit there and talk about the game they're playing, and might even be some feedback going to those representatives who then, of course, go back and see what they can do with it. So good idea here. We'll see how all this works out though. 60 plus demos in that time span will be very interesting to see happen. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Xbox Lockhart, specifically what it will look like. That is something that people have been pondering right now, right? Is like, okay, are they gonna just cut it in half and it'll look like a GameCube? Is it gonna look more like a regular box? Well, it looks like we are starting to get more reports on its overall form factor. You can see, for example, Jez Corden from Windows Central saying, I know a lot of us are using the great Xbox Series S concept art, looks like a GameCube right now, but Lockhart actually looks a bit more like an Xbox One S without a disk drive. And we go on to see that Thurrott, Brad Sams, also mentions that the Xbox employees who are transporting Lockhart, specifically, I guess, prototypes of it, are using Xbox One S and Xbox One X cases over it to kind of disguise it. They also mentioned that like a subwoofer, for example, casing would be used to cover up the Series X. And if they're able to use like an Xbox One S casing, that means it should be a bit smaller than the Xbox One S. That's interesting. Now, if they, of course, remove the disk drive and they have that from the start in mind, yes, they should be able to shrink it down, whether it is vertically or actually just straight up width-wise shrink it. That's kind of what I was thinking after a little while thinking about it. Like, okay, they might just want to go with a basic design. I think it'll probably be a different color. Like it might be white like the Xbox One S. That would make sense. But unfortunately, it sounds like that GameCube concept that I really liked, cutting the Xbox Series X in half for the Series S, might just be a bit more of a fan concept and mock-up than an actual thing. But, you know, we'll see what happens when they unveil it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from M. Wells saying, depending on how often battles happen, I can see this being incredibly annoying, especially if there are random encounters when roaming the overworld. Yeah, I would agree. If there's no real reward for doing battles, whether like we're used to experience, right? You get EXP, you level up, you can grind out levels, skill points, all of that. That is generally why we go about battles in JRPGs. The problem, of course, with Paper Mario is that they kind of deviated away from that, and we get to the point where in Color Splash, people would even avoid battles. Yeah, and I'm hoping it's not like that in Paper Mario the Origami King, because those battles even look like they will take longer to do, so we'll see. Here's hoping they at least have some sort of reward system and progression system set up for it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the Nintendo Switch resellers and now Nintendo reopening for business with full refurbished systems that are even cheaper than MSRP. Let me know if you were still looking for one and you're thinking about grabbing one of those, or even a 2DS or a 3DS XL. Also, what do you think about the delay for Crysis Remastered? Did that surprise you? Because they did it like an hour or two before the trailer was supposed to premiere on YouTube. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.